बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी नाम संकीर्तन की जय। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरये नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवती उत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः। Hare Krishna. Today we are reading from first canto, chapter 13, text 40, Srimad Bhagavatam. Karṇadhāra ivāpāre bhagavān pāra-darśakaḥ athābabhāṣe bhagavān nārado muni-sattamaḥ karṇadhāra ivāpāre bhagavān pāra-darśakaḥ athābabhāṣe bhagavān nārado muni-sattamaḥ karṇadhāra ivāpāre bhagavān pāra-darśakaḥ athābabhāṣe bhagavān nārado muni-sattamaḥ
कर्णधार इवापारे भगवान् पारदर्शकः अथाबभाषे भगवान्
नारदो मुनि-सत्तमः कर्णधार इवापारे भगवान् पारदर्शकः अथाबभाषे भगवान् नारदो मुनि-सत्तमः कर्णधार इवापारे भगवान् पारदर्शकः अथाबभाषे भगवान् नारदो मुनि-सत्तमः. Translation and purport, word meaning translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Is doing Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Karṇadhāra, captain of the ship. Iva, like. Apāre, in the extensive oceans. Bhagavān, representative of the Lord. pāra-darśakaḥ, one who can give directions to the other side. Atha, thus. Athābabhāṣe, began to say. Bhagavān, the godly personality. Narada, the great sage Narada. Muni-sattamaḥ, the greatest among the devotee philosophers. Translation: you are like a captain of a ship in a great ocean, and you can direct us to our destination. Thus addressed, the godly personality, Devarshi Narada, greatest of the philosopher devotees, began to speak. Purport: there are different types of philosophers, and the greatest of all of them are those who have seen the personality of Godhead and have surrendered themselves in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. Among all such pure devotees of the Lord, Devarshi Narada is the chief, and therefore he has been described herein as the greatest of all philosopher devotees. Unless one has become a sufficiently learned philosopher by hearing the Vedanta philosophy from a bona fide spiritual master, one cannot be a learned philosopher devotee. One must be very faithful, learned, and renounced. Otherwise, one cannot be a pure devotee. A pure devotee of the Lord can give us direction towards the other end of nations. Devarshi Narada used to visit the place of Maharaj Yudhishthir because the Pandavas were all pure devotees of the Lord, and the Devarshi was always ready to give them good counsel whenever needed. ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः. श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं. वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरून् वैष्णवांश्च श्रीरूपं साग्रजातं सगण रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश्च. नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने. नमस्ते सरस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे. नमो महावदन्याय प्रेम प्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्ण चैतन्य नामने गौरत्विषे नमः. हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीनबंधु जगत्पते गोपेश गोपिका कांत राधा कांत नमोस्तुते. तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः. जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shrivasadi Gaur Bhaktarinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Mukam karoti vachalam pangum langayate girim yat krupatamaham vande Shri Guru Dinatarinam. Hare Krishna. I am definitely not qualified at all to sit here and speak in front of all of you devotees, but just under the instruction of senior devotees, I will be attempting to speak something with your permission and blessings. So, before we begin, we can just look at the context, exactly where we are today with this verse. So we have been seeing that Narada Muni first instructed King Dhritarashtra to leave this worldly affair and take to Vanprastha. So immediately after hearing from such pure devotee like Narada, Dhritarashtra was transformed and he immediately decides to leave suddenly. And his good wife Gandhari also follows him. So in the morning, and Vidura also left. So in the morning when Yudhishthir Maharaj comes after doing his offerings, worships, he comes to seek the blessing of his senior relatives, and he figures out that Dhritarashtra is no more there in the palace. So he gets bewildered. He asks Sanjaya, but Sanjaya is also not aware. So he's very much in distress right now. Exactly like what might have happened to the trust. I was so old and weak. So at that time, Narad Muni arrives at that location, and that's where Yudhishthir Maharaj addresses him in these beautiful words. So if we look at this translation, one very key phrase that strikes our mind is the captain of a ship. So Narad Muni is being referred here as a captain of a ship, and of course, like there are more beautiful adjectives for him, like pāra-darśakaḥ and muni-sattamaḥ, greatest philosopher devotees. So we can see, like we'll discuss. It is very interesting why Narad Muni is here called as the captain. So before we go there, we can see exactly why. So what is the position of a captain? So this material world, in the material world, there is even this ocean. So it is very turbulent. If you look at it, sometimes it is calm, sometimes it is suddenly becomes turbulent. There are storms. So it is very unpredictable in that sense. But it is duty of the captain that he is aware of certain such situations, and he is able to sail his ship through such difficulties. So even in Prabhupada's first time, we see that when he was in Jaldut, the ship, so he met with 2 heart attacks, severe heart attacks, and after that he has a dream, and he sees Krishna in the dream, and Krishna is personally rowing that ship. So, and after that, there were no storms or turbulences in the water. So this captain Arun Pandit, he was there. So he was mentioning in his memories that he many times, like hundreds of times, he crosses that ocean, but he never the Atlantic Ocean, but he never seen the ocean such calm. That was the only time when Prabhupada was with him. So, so that is the position of a captain. He is aware of exactly how the weather is going to be, how the waves are going to be, and how to tackle through all these waves and like deliver the ship safely to its destination. So, in the Bhagavatam as well, there is a beautiful verse with the analogy of the ocean. So it's, I think everyone knows this verse. Samashritaye pada pallavaplavam mahat padam punya yasho murare Bhavam buddhirvat sa padam padam param padam 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 yat vipadam natesham. So the meaning of this verse is for those who have accepted the boat of the lotus feet of the Lord, who is the shelter of the cosmic manifestation and is famous as Murari, the enemy of the Mura demon, the ocean of the material world is like the water contained in the calf's hoof print. Their goal is Parampadam, Vaikunta, the place where there are no material miseries, not the place where there is danger at every step. So Bhagavatam is clearly saying here that this material world is like a ocean where there is danger at every step, and we cannot. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says that when we are fallen into this ocean, we cannot keep speculating like what's the force of the waves, what's the speed of the waves, what's the volume and density and surface tension. That's not going to help because you are into ocean and you are into a very difficult situation. So only thing is going to help is you catch a boat, and even the boat cannot be just ordinary boat. So sometimes there are the small feeder boats which are mostly used for like transferring luggage or people from one ship to another or goes to the main ship. So they are not they are just meant to drive to some extent, but they are not meant to tackle the big waves. So we also have to be very careful, like when we are choosing a boat, it has to be led by a very experienced captain who actually knows how to sail through the waves. So we see that when we are into the ship, if we see waves, then we will get bewildered because that would be like we won't be able to see what's beyond the wave. But the captain is usually situated at a elevated position, and he, even though there are waves, he knows exactly what's beyond the wave, and he's able to sail expertly. So that is the position of a captain. And in this verse, we see that Yudhishthir Maharaj is very expertly referring to Narada Muni as a captain of the ship because he's a pure devotee. He's a devotee of the Lord, and he knows that he is in the material ocean. There would be miseries at every step. And so when Narada Muni comes, he knows that he is going to deliver him. So that's why he's being addressed as a captain. So we see that in our life as well, that is the position of the guru. He is like a captain. So we just chanted that Om Adnantimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuru Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namah. So it means that I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and with your torch of knowledge, you have enlightened me and you have opened my eyes. So similarly, the guru, he like a captain, he knows what is beyond, and he has better visibility, and that's why he's able to guide expertly to cross the ocean of this material world. So now let's see why Narad Muni is being referred to here as a captain. So there are multiple pastimes, we'll go through it, and we'll try to analyze them in the light of this particular verse. So once what happened was, Hiranyakashipu, he was already very powerful, and he wanted to become the most powerful person. So he decides to worship Lord Brahma, perform austerities, and please him. So at that time, his wife Kayadhu was pregnant. So he leaves her in the under the protection of one of his caretakers. It's called Vidal. So he leaves him, and he leaves her under his protection, and he lives for performing tapasya, austerity. So at that time, Indra becomes very much afraid because he's already powerful, and he's performing tapasya to become even more powerful. And he his child is already on the way. So he's assuming that child of such a asuric demon is definitely going to be more more asuric in nature. That's what's his assumption. So he he immediately becomes angry and he loses his control, and he tries to kill that womb. So he tries to attack that womb specifically many times, but Lord Vishnu is very angry now at Indra because that's not what he's supposed to do. So he personally protects that womb. So the multiple attempts of Indra fail, and then on frustration, he decides to abduct Kayadu. So he attacks that kingdom. Vidula was again a great warrior. He tries to fight back, but he could not defeat Indra, so he gets killed. And now Kayadu is under no one's protection, so Indra abducts us, and he's taking him back to his kingdom. So on the way, Narad Muni sees that, and he immediately comes. So Narad Muni is he's very much respected amongst the demigods. So when he instructs Indra that, hey, what you're doing, she is a sinless pregnant woman, unprotected by anyone, and you are trying to kidnap her, and you are also trying to kill that unborn child who is sinless. So immediately Indra realizes his mistake, and he becomes sober, and he leaves her under the protection of Narad Muni. So Narad Muni now, he takes good care of Kayadu. He gives her a place to stay, and he makes sure that the atmosphere around her is very devotional. He keeps speaking about Krishna. So after that, we all know like how Prahlad Maharaj comes from that womb, and he becomes such a great devotee that he is able to in fact deliver his sinful father as well. So if we analyze this pastime, so we see that on the one side there is Indra, who is very much attached to his own body and own kingdom. And as we discussed, padam padam yat vibadam. So there are going to be dangers at every step. And for every danger, Indra is very much getting disturbed. So he loses his control and tries to do sinful acts. And on the other side, there is Narad Muni. So he's a visionary. He knows exactly what's going to happen, and he doesn't lose his control anytime in his life. Even if there are apparently some dangerous situations, he exactly knows how to find a positive way out of everything. So this is one example where we see that Narad Muni is acting like a captain. He, instead of like getting bewildered in material dangerous situations, he tries to first of all stays himself calm, and tries to deliver others as well. Like Indra was about to commit a sinful act, but he prevents him on time before committing sins, and he of course delivers Kayadu and Prahlad Maharaj, and ultimately Prahlad Maharaj delivers Hiranyakashipu as well. So there is another pastime. So there was a robber named Ratnagar, robber and hunter. So he was again like attached to his family, and to provide for them, he used to rob. He was a strong man, so he used to rob and hunt. He used to even kill people when they are not ready to give their money. So he was a very sinful personality, and he used to hide in the forest in the night, and whenever there is someone passing, he used to rob him, and if they refuse, he used to kill them. So one day, Narad Muni was passing through that forest in the night and playing on his veena. So Ratnagar, he's hiding on the tree. So he sees that hey, this poor fellow is passing through, but I'm not sure if he has anything, but he has a veena at least. So maybe there is some gold or something in that. So he immediately jumps down and blocks his road and asks him, like, hey, do you have anything? So he says, no, I just have this veena, but you can take it. I don't mind if you take it. So he's kind of bewildered, like how can he be so detached? So taking that opportunity, Narad Muni asks him, like, why are you committing such sinful acts? So he says, I have a family and I have to provide for them. So I have to do something to earn money. So Narad Muni then asks him, okay, you are doing all this for your family, but are they going to share the credit, sinful credit of it? So Ratnakar says, yes, I am sure they will share. So Narad Muni says, okay, then go and ask them first. So he kind of ties the Narad Muni to the tree and goes to the family and ask his father, wife, kids. But all of them say, so all of them say that it's like we are your relatives and it's your duty to earn money. So regardless of what you do to earn your money, we are not going to share the credits. So even if it's sinful act, you have to face your own karma. So that moment, Ratnakar immediately gets enlightened. See, hey, I have been doing so much sinful activities for my family, but they are not ready to share the credit. So then why am I doing so much sinful activities? So then Narad Muni, he again comes back to Narad Muni and apologizes to him and surrenders to him. Then Narad Muni instructs him, of course, like we know, he gives him the mantra of Ram and he becomes a great devotee, Valmiki. So even in this pastime, there is an important point to note that Narad Muni could have just left that place. He could have said that, hey, this is such a sinful person. I don't want to associate with him. He's not going to, he's already fallen. There is no scope of his deliverance. So let me just leave him and go back. But Narad Muni chose to stay there and deliver him. So that's the duty of a captain. So many times we see that if the ship, there is some technical difficulty, the ship is sinking. It's not that the captain, he can definitely take the first boat and go out, but he never does that because it's the duty of the captain to protect all the passengers. And only after saving them, he will leave. So Narad Muni is perfectly here being referred to as a karṇadhāra, captain, due to such pastimes. There is another pastime when Ved-vyas, so he was compiling the Vedas, 4 Vedas, and even Mahabharat he compiled. Even after that, he was very dissatisfied. He exactly didn't know what's going wrong, why he is dissatisfied, but he's still he's sitting with a pale face and he's very sad. So Narad Muni approaches that place. So he asks what happened, and Ved-vyas describes that he is not very satisfied even after doing so much compilation. So Narad Muni, because he had the visibility into future, he explained that in Kali Yuga, people are going to be attached to, they are going to be selfish. So they'll only take out this dharma, artha, kama, moksha from all the scriptures, but they won't be able to take the essence, which is the devotional service to Krishna, because that is not coming out clearly. That is hidden, but in Kali Yuga, people won't be able to understand it. So he immediately then Ved-vyas understands what's the problem, and then he sits down and compiles Srimad Bhagavatam. And there he explicitly focuses on the glories of Lord Krishna. After that, he is very satisfied. So here again, see, even a disciple like Ved-vyas, he might get confused sometimes. Even at our level, we do have some confusions, mostly on the bodily or mental level and gross level. So, but even at the level of Ved-vyas, he might have some subtle confusions. So only Guru can help in such case because he has the visibility. So we have this verse, Tattvidhi Pranipratinam, Pariprashnan Seva, Upadekshante, Te Gyanam, Jnanina Sattvadarshina. So these Jnani people, they are Tattvadarshi, they know the truth as it is. That's why they are able to guide us. So again, that is the position of a captain, like he should know everything and only then he can guide the ship. So again, here we see that Narad Muni is very aptly being referred as a captain of the ship. There's another pastime where Kansa, so Devki was Devki and Vasudev, they had a child, and they bring them to Kansa as promised. So Kansa, at that moment, he becomes compassionate and sympathetic, and he feels that actually, like, why am I killing them? Anyways, I'm only, I should be only afraid of the eighth child. So why to kill this one? And he leaves him. But then Narad Muni comes there, and he actually preaches to him that, hey, I mean, just like a flower has 8 petals, we don't know exactly which one is first, which one is eighth. So you shouldn't assume that this is not Krishna. So then Kansa actually takes his advice and kills all the seven children. So even from this pastime, we see that sometimes such great devotees, they have to commit such acts which are bewildering to the general mass. So if we again take the analogy of captain, sometimes we see that the flight is in the air, the aeroplane is in the air, and there is some technical difficulty. Some component is not working, or something is catching fire, and there is no nearest airport for emergency landing. So he has to land in the ocean or on the road. So this is, so if there is someone outside who doesn't know any internals of aeroplanes, and he has only seen plane landing and taking off from the airport, he would see, hey, I mean, what's happening to this pilot? Is he mad or what? Does he know how to land? But there are these exceptional cases where pilot has to do such exceptional things which might not be appreciated by the general mass. So similarly, Narad Muni also, we see that his level is such high that sometimes the regular common people would see that he has performed some actions which are not very appreciable by everyone. But again, as a captain, we have to see that what he has visibility, what visibility he has, we do not have that. So there might be some actions which might be building to us, but at his level, he can commit that. So with all these pastimes, we see that Narad Muni is very aptly being described as a captain by Yudhishthira. The next adjective that we see for Narad Muni is the pāra-darśakaḥ. So pāra-darśakaḥ is someone who can see beyond. So we see many times that we only have the visibility of this life. We only plan for this life. But the devotees like Narad Muni and our Guru Maharaj, so they have the visibility beyond the lives, and the instruction they would give, they would be for the life beyond this particular life. So that's why they are referred to as pāra-darśakaḥ here. Then there is another adjective, muni-sattamaḥ. So it is very important, greatest of the philosopher devotees. So if you see, Prabhupada spends almost complete purport on that one term, how being the greatest of the devotee philosophers is it's very significant. So Prabhupada says that unless one has become a sufficiently learned philosopher by hearing the Vedanta philosophy from a bona fide spiritual master, one cannot be learned philosopher devotee. So we see that sometimes we are going through this Bhakti Shastri session. So it's almost 5 years that we are continuing this batch under the guidance of His Grace Karnataka Prabhu. So he is very, he has been tolerating a lot, all of us. And sometimes someone might see that 5 years, every weekend, almost every weekend, you are meeting and discussing pure philosophy for 1.5 to 2 hours. So why not just chant and be happy and perform some service and that's it, like you're doing bhakti. Why to understand the philosophy? So Prabhupada clarifies very well in this purport that even to become a devotee, it is very important to know the philosophy. So why is it important to understand philosophy? That will we'll discuss a few simple reasons for that. One is we have to know what is real. What is real? That is very important to know. So, for example, let's say someone is watching a horror movie, and he is very much engrossed in that. So suddenly there is some ghost, the scene of some ghost, and he becomes very afraid. He starts sweating. His heartbeats are increased. So this happens because he is not aware of the reality. Whereas someone who is sitting besides him, but he is very much aware that he is sitting within a theater, and there are like multiple, very many people around him. So he won't be afraid. Like he just knows that this is just a projection of some light on the screen. There is no real ghost. So just knowing the reality, that would help you stay calm in situation. Bhagavad Gita also tells us the reality that you are not the body, you are the soul. That is the reality. So one who knows this fact, he would be very peaceful in the material life. Though we have seen that it's padam padam yad vipadam, there would be dangers at every step. But just knowing the reality that you are not the body, you are the soul, you would not be affected too much by such dangers. So that's why learning philosophy is important. Next reason is what really matters. So again, going back to the same example of someone watching a horror movie. So let's say he's so much engrossed in the movie, and there is someone steals his pocket, and but he is still not aware. He is completely engrossed, and he just loses that. So that is also again, it is very important to know like what really matters to us. Watching the movie is not important. Your packet is going away. That's something which really matters. So even in our life, we know that like we are so much engrossed in our material activities, but our human form of life is losing. Like we are losing the time. So that's something which really matters. Like how you grow yourself, so that you get liberated from the cycle of birth and death, and how you are spending your time. That is important. If you are just wasting your time in material activities, then you are losing your precious time. And so philosophy tells you this, like exactly what really matters to you. So that's why it is important to know philosophy. Third reason is what should you do to achieve what really matters? So everyone has certain priorities in life, and accordingly they act. Even in our lives, we see that before coming to devotional service, we had certain priorities. We might be acting in a similar way, even before or after, but our priorities were different earlier. Now they are different. So our motivation is different, what we are doing. So it is important to know what the goal of life is and what should be your priorities. And it is very clearly described in the scriptures, what human life is meant for, what should be the priority of the life. So again, like how to achieve what really matters, that is also, that guidance is there in the scriptures. So it is important to know the philosophy. So these are the various reasons why even as a practicing devotee, we should be studying philosophy and being aware of it. Of course, like performing the regular sadhana, like regular chanting, that is needed services. But knowing philosophy is also very important. And there is another thing that we should be careful about is sometimes there is a tendency that, especially I had the tendency definitely, that we study the philosophy with a filter that okay, this point I like very much and I can go and speak to others. So this is very interesting point. And I will share it with others. So that's why so while reading, we know that we keep looking for such points which are very interesting, and we should be able to share that and get appreciated. So that is a wrong motivation, because by that way, like you will study some philosophy, part of philosophy, but that would just go in your brain and come out. It won't really transform your heart. So the meaning of philosophy is philo is love and sophos is truth. So the love for truth, that is the meaning of philosophy. So we should be looking for knowing the truth, not something just to impress others by hearing. So that is very important to note that yeah, we shouldn't be just studying philosophy to impress others, but for transforming ourselves. Now, if we there might be some examples, like for example, there is example of Shabri, right? So she was instructed by her guru that at one day Ram would come and deliver you. So till then you should wait. So for many years she's just waiting. Every day she's collecting some berries from the forest, awaiting Ram, and he's still, yeah, every day she's just doing that. So each what she learned in philosophy, apparently not, but still she is considered a great devotee. Then there are gopis of Vrindavan, of course. There are especially these wives of the Brahmanas. So the Brahmanas were learned so much in scriptures, they knew the philosophy, but the wives turned out to be better devotees, the real devotees. Then there is example of the South Indian Brahmana in Chaitanya Lila, that he was instructed by his guru to read Bhagavad Gita every day. So he didn't even know how to hold the book, but still he was just looking at the looking at the picture. He used to cry just looking at the picture of Krishna. So he was definitely a great devotee. So how do we connect this? That Prabhupada is saying every devotee should be learned in philosophy, but we see that there are some examples which are devotees are apparently not learned, but still they are pure devotees. So one important point to note here is that we don't know their past. Like they in this life, apparently they are not knowing the philosophy, but maybe in the previous lives they were great sages, very expert in the philosophy, and they were great devotees already. So Prabhupada very famously says in one of the purports that philosophy without religion is mental speculation, and religion without philosophy is sentiment or fanatism. So so if we reject, like if we without understanding, if we try to imitate such devotees, that's the sentiment. That's without philosophy, it would become sentimental. And we know it's basically Sahajiism. We'll become Sahajia if we try to imitate such devotees. So since we don't know their background, we should not be judging that anyone can become a pure devotee without philosophy. Prabhupada is saying that knowing philosophy is very important, so we should be studying. Then there are there are different kinds of philosophies. We won't go into it. There is Nyaya philosophy, Karma Mimamsa, the Patanjali Yoga philosophy. Of course, like Sankhya Yoga and all. So we, as devotees, we have to study Vedanta, because Krishna has said that Vedanta Krut Veda Videvacham. So he is the Vedanta compiler of the Vedanta, and he is the knower of the Vedas. So for devotees, Vedanta philosophy is recommended. But then we see that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, when he was on the way to Vrindavan, he used to stay at multiple villages, and every time some brahmanas used to invite him, and he used to go there and have some food. Like he used to stay there. But when he was in Varanasi, so he was staying at the house of Tapan Mishra. So at that time, the devotees there, the Vaishnava devotees there, so they recommended him that please don't go to any Brahmana's place, because they are pure Vedantist but not devotees. So they are Mayavadis. So you should avoid going to them. And Chaitanya Prabhu also agrees, and he used to, like this, he used to get invitation, but he used to always refuse, saying that I have some other invitation today. So he used to stay in Tapan Mishra's place. So at there, that's again something to learn, that Chaitanya Prabhu also preferred to stay away from these Vedantists. Of course, like later on he reaches to them and transforms. But for us, we should be staying away from Mayavadis. We'll see why. And of course, there was another devotee, Brahman, who, not devotee, he was a Vedantist, like Mayavadi. But just by looking at Chaitanya Prabhu, he gets transformed and he goes to Prakashan and Saraswati. So there, Prakashan Saraswati, he talks about Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So then he was blaspheming, like he says that, "Oh, yeah, I know Chaitanya. He's initiated in our Bharati Sampradaya, but he's still just chanting and dancing like a madman." So he's not, I don't consider him as a real sannyasi. So at that time, he was not even able to pronounce the name Krishna. He said Chaitanya many times. So this devotee comes back to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and says that, unfortunately, Prakashanand Saraswati is not, he is very offensive towards you. And I noticed that he said Chaitanya 2-3 times, but he never said Krishna. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says that it's because of their arrogance and ego that they are not able to even pronounce the name, because Krishna is not different from their name. So Krishna doesn't even manifest in their mouths. So this is the situation uh, when one is very self-centered. So that's maybe the last point that we'll see. So who is qualified to study philosophy? So Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur says in his Anubhashya, and Prabhupada quotes in one of the verses in the same context of Chaitanya Lila, that anyone who follows this verse, Trunadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadina Kirtaniya Sadhari. So one has to be humbler than the blade of grass, tolerant than a tree, and ready to offer respects to others and not expecting any respect for oneself. Only in that situation one can actually start studying the philosophy. Because otherwise what happens is, when you are self-centered, you cannot appreciate the personality of Krishna and supremacy of Krishna. So even if you study with us, you will only take the points of, you will always seek how you can become God, or how you can merge with God. But you won't be ready to serve Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's what exactly happens with the Mayavadis. Since they are not humble in heart. When they study, they become further hard-hearted. They'll perform very strong austerities, but it's all like to gain the power themselves. It's all centered around themselves, selfishness. But they won't ever become the devotees. So this humility is very important when we. So we can also like take inspiration and from such great devotees like Narada. And to our extent, we can study philosophy. And yet, to our whatever capacity we have, we can also become the captain of the ships of our own life, and to help others by counseling. So Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.